Hej og velkommen til Olufsen Teknisk Forum BOTF. Vi er rykket tilbage ind i YouTube-studiet, hvor at vi i dag skal lave en virtuel på besøg hos, hvor vi flyver hele vejen til Canada. Mr. Willie.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Really good. Well, it's a lot of staying in time right now. So how is Corona doing at your place?
I didn't buy any beer. No, it's, you know what, deep down inside, a long time ago, and it was the first week of owning the BeoLab 90s, I was always hoping that I get stuck at home for a while, that I just have to be home because I want to listen to them. Well, here we are. Still don't regret that decision or a wish. And yeah, I'm holding on, man. Do my groceries and stay home, listen to music, build some Lego. I've been lucky enough that I got some sets before the stuff closed down, so keep it sane over here because there's only so much you can occupy your mind. It's different when you have a spouse because then at least you can bounce, things off of one another. I can bounce a tennis ball off the wall here because I'm alone, man. So it's coffee and Lego.
So how is the government doing in Canada? Do you have any restrictions or whatever?
It's a clown fest, and I guess the hypocrisy of our fearless leader is just out of this world. But yeah, like they're talking about the safe self-isolation stuff. People are just being weird and distant, right? Obviously, because everybody, I don't know if I think it's just a little too far for what it really is. But then I guess everybody that's saying that is more or less downplaying it, and it depends on your immune system and so on and so forth. So I don't know. It's if to me, I live my life as I did before. The only difference is that people look at you weird when you don't have gloves on your hands now and stuff. I still work with Bang & Olufsen, and I have clients that I casually visit, and we have cigar nights and whatever. But these people have been home for at least 30 days, so we're all clean. I guess you clean, and we just go off of that. So yeah, I still have some work. Otherwise, I have none. But we're getting paid for sitting at home, so. Even though it sucks, I don't think there's been a better time to sit in the house and listen to the 90s, man. Seriously.
I agree.
Think it sucks. It'll start getting warmer, and it's going to be much harder to contain people within their apartments. Now, I have air conditioning, so I don't have to worry about it as much as well. But yeah, it's definitely. I'm not one of those outdoorsy type people that I'm gonna cut my wrists because I couldn't go to the mountains this weekend. I'm quite content with sitting here and listen to either Joe Rogan's podcast and build my Lego or just sit in the Eames chair and share my music with the rest of the neighbors because I do listen to it very loud and touche that everybody else is home.
So talking about work, what do you do for a living on a daily basis?
So on a daily basis, I used to work with Bang & Olufsen until obviously the shutdown, and a few years back, before the professional partnership was terminated in North American region, I was a professional partner, and before that I worked in a Bang & Olufsen store since 2011, and before that I worked in the architectural firm for 8 years. So I have a variety of backgrounds, I guess. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, but I guess architectural career was the more what I've concentrated on, I guess, or where I've ended up at. And yeah, and I worked with Audi for a while till this Corona thing started and everybody else lost jobs. So it was, kind of was a blessing in disguise that that I worked at Audi because I was self-employed as a contractor for B&O. So if I were to be sitting at home stuck, I wouldn't be getting paid anymore because I am no employee of anyone. I'm an employee of myself. Right? So that's when it gets a little tough with the money. But the interesting part about the B&O is Like I've started working with them in 2011, so it's been 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of people's lives in that time because you never go away. And that was one of the things that I really took to heart when I first started working at the B&O store. And Scott, manager at the time, he says, once you sell them a product, you will be their partner for life. Because, okay, no. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if the bird bent the antenna on the roof and it fell off and you don't have a picture, I'm getting a phone call because my B&O TV is not working.
Mm.
That's how it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the BO4 batteries are dead because people can't get into this dead thing, right? Like the BO remote one is even funner because that's like, you need a pokey. What's a pokey? Like you need, pull the freaking chassis apart to get to the batteries. But yeah, you witness, that's what I love about B&O. And even like, it's funny because it's almost to their detriment, the fact that they last so long as a product.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Electronics nowadays are more perishable than tomatoes in a store because everything outdates so fast. So with B&O, and then that's the beauty of it. Like you go to the houses, then I'm like, gosh, like I did this in 2000, like that's 8 years ago now, 2012, 2011, right? Things still work. Like the house looks like it did when they first, got it done, and it looks stunning. It's spectacular.
And they still use it.
And they still use it every day. And quite honestly, they're more familiar with it, control and technology wise, and what it does, than if you were to start rolling out new products to their house every 2-3 years because you get the Roku player instead of the Apple TV now because that apparently has a better picture quality in the processor and so on and so forth, right? And you got to learn all these interfaces where you have one BO4 and that goes
a few thousand.
Yeah, or maybe a BeoLink 1000, and if you're post 2011 generation, then you most likely are with at least Bio Remote ones going on in your house.
Mm.
So it's interesting how people live with it, but then again, it's also funny to me personally that like Vancouver store, they've never sold them BeoLink Gateway. I have clients that I can count only on one hand that do not have the BeoLink Gateway. So
really,
yeah, like I've really, when I was doing this, like when the Gateway came out in 2008, like I wasn't working at the B&O store back then, but obviously like I was a barfly, I guess you could call it, like every spare moment. And here's how the every spare moment came along. I used to work in an architectural firm, and I was in charge of the development for new buildings and getting the approvals and development permits and basically pushing the bollocks through the city. Mm-hmm. And it was so busy because it was the boom times in Calgary that the wait time sometimes was 2 to 3 hours in line to get your drawings submitted. So I would go to Tim Hortons because Canadians, I took the Eastern Europe approach to it. I would bring donuts to the city hall, left my drawings there, and they knew my number. So I'm like, just call me when there's like 3 people away, because the B&O shop was about a 5-minute rushed walk from the city hall, right? So then I would go to the B&O store, and then I would just listen to music. And across the B&O store, it was so convenient back in the day. It was an audio shop, a music store. So I would go and pick out a whole bunch of CDs, buy them, and then I would go and listen to it on either the 9000 or it was a 3200 at the time they were around. Then the BeoVision 8 came out, and I got stuck very much heavily to that, and I ended up with BeoVision 9 later on, which was if I were to ever advise somebody to buying a TV without your wife knowing, it is easier to beg for forgiveness than the permission. And don't show her the bill.
No, that's a big TV. Well, if she can take it out of the living rooms, do it.
It's 250 pounds, man. This thing, I can't even return it because I ain't lifting it. No. So it's staying. And so that's basically more or less the skinny of it, of the history, as far as I was dipped in the Bio juice for the first time in my life, I think when I was 15 years old. A friend of mine, they had a set of Pentas and a 5500 system. And when I first saw him, like, holy cow, like when he got it, like that one single moment in my life in time changed everything about me. I started really liking or taking to music. And I'm not talking like more or less to the recording and the quality of it. And you know, like it's things started to matter because you listen, like Pentas were kick ass. They still are, man. And like put it back in 80s, 90s, like when they were the cream of the crop, like you turn these on, it was like, holy shit balls, dude, like these things haul ass. Yeah. And it makes sense how, like, wow, right? And also, like, we've talked about this in co-hosting the Bio Talk podcast, and we've beaten this topic to the ground on that particular channel, that also with Steve and Sounds Heavenly, that the speakers and the technology matches the music that are in that era. Yeah. And the Pentas absolutely shine with an 80s, 90s music. You know, when you start getting into this technical crap like Skrillex or this dubsteppy, whatever, when there's too much computer, or I call it the transformer sex, then it's just too much. They can't.
Take for example, Phil Collins on the drums and put it on the Pentas. It sounds amazing.
Oh my God, it sounds like he's there. It's absolutely crazy for what, you know. So that was my first experience at B&O, and then, you know, they didn't have the multi-room, so I wasn't really understanding that point because we lived in, you know, small block of flats, I guess, in, you know, commie country. And then we moved to Canada in 1998, and in 2002 is when the B&O shop opened. And they had to open by law because they set the date, but they weren't really ready. So they basically opened the store. I walked in, poked my head in, sweet, I'll see you in a week. And then they closed the shop, and then they had to finish whatever. So they were officially open, but now they're closed for renovations, right? Because whatever the date was missed. So I was the very first person that, you know, tried to freaking force, like Dawn of the Dead, man. I just go in and I want to get inside. And then, then it started. My first product that I bought here in Canada was BeoSound 1. BeoSound 2, which is the little MP3 player. I still have it on one of my shelves. We'll get into those in a bit.
Is that called BeoSound 2?
That's a BeoSound 2, and the BeoSound 1 was the ARCed CD player in 2000 with the CD coming.
BeoSender, right?
That was BeoSound 1. And the BeoSound 2, and then BeoSound 3 is in my bedroom, which is then that's when they started to move into the SD.
So they actually use the same name for the cone things?
Yeah, they both those. Yeah, they're the same. If you Google BeoSound 1, now more likely, I think, because they paid for the tags, is going to be the new one. But if you scroll further down the screens, you're going to see the old CD player.
So before we get into all that, let's get back to, you said you worked at Audi, and my people or my viewers on my channel are really keen about cars. So let's talk about cars. What kind of car do you drive, Willie?
I do drive an Audi. I preach, I own what I preach, essentially.
It could be quite fun if you said, well, I have a BMW 5 Series.
Oh, God, I would never say that. I would lie so hard. I'm a man of very few brands, and the very few brands of man that I am, I own everything in it. So, all my electronics are Bang & Olufsen. I don't, other than the Samsung phone, because I used to have a Lumigon, which had an IR controller for the B&O products, but that's when IR used to be cool. Now we've moved to Bluetooth, and which is much better, but I have my own opinion of it as well. So Audi was one of the reasons why I had bought Audi is I love the car, and I'm not a car guy, quite honestly, at all. But I became a car guy for one simple reason. When you drive, like I used to have a Nissan, and I'm sorry to admit it, but it's just, nobody drives off the high school parking lot with a Rolls Royce or a Lambo. Like you gotta kind of earn your bucks. Exactly. So I had a Nissan, and I was doing seminars for Audi dealerships regarding Bang & Olufsen systems in their cars. And it wasn't more or less explaining the technology behind it, but introducing the company. So it was, I would do 4 slideshow presentations that would be about 1 hour each. And so every Friday before their store would open, I would come in and we would sit down, all the staff, and I would walk them through it. And I started it with, like, the first module was history, second module was audio, third module was video, and the fourth module was the cars, because I didn't want to put the cars as first because they wouldn't give a shit about anything else. I just wanted to learn that, so I don't care about the rest of it. So I did it, you know, like Tarantino did the class, and not really, because they did it from, you know, chronologically. So they have all this understanding of it. And then A3 got redesigned in 2015, and it came out with the Bang & Olufsen system built in. There is not much else to talk about. And at the time, the B&O store downtown I worked at, we have Stampede here. And Stampede is the largest outdoor show on earth, which I don't think will happen this year because of this goofy Corona nonsense. It's a lot of people in the city. And our shop was downtown Stephen Avenue. If you Google Stephen Avenue in Calgary, you can see where it's exactly where the pin drops. If you just type in Calgary, like, we literally are the center of the city, because B&O did insist on having the prestige locations for their shops. So they should. It's a prestige product.
Yeah.
And Scott, my manager, like, he was in the cars as well, but like, he scooped up the Aston Martins and the BMW. Like, he's got his own, like, the auto mall on the southwest side. I'm like, well, screw this, man. I want to have, you know, a piece of this cake too. So I went to the Audi in Royal Oak and kind of just talked to them. Listen, guys, like, I don't know if you would be up for it, but if you want, we can do a collab. And why don't I take the Stampede is 10 days. You have about 10 models of the vehicles here. You know, I'm not going to take a freaking R8 and stick it in the middle of downtown in the middle of, like, you know, corn dog eating drunks, right? Like, that's not going to happen. But, like, let's put an A3, A4, A5, 6, 7, and A8 in that sequence. Every day a different car in front of the shop. Must have a Bang & Olufsen sound system.
Yeah.
Period. Because that was the experience. Like, we were not selling the cars. We were selling the experience of you now. Okay, listen, this is the vehicle that has the sound system. This is what it sounds like. And quite honestly, it was very, very impressive, because I think it was one of the best demos I've done for vehicle sound system. Because imagine you're in the middle of a freaking parade and you sit in this A6, you close the doors, and it was a dual laminate, the acoustic line windows. You close the doors, and literally, like, if you just plugged your ears.
Yeah.
With quiet. And people's like, holy cow, like, that is awesome. And then you start playing the music, right? And I also did a demo track. Brian Culbertson, it is my favorite track to demonstrate the speakers. Brian Culbertson, it's on tonight album. The track's called Hooking Up. It's number 2 on that CD, or hard drive, whatever media you're using.
I'll try to put it down here so people can see the CD.
Yeah, if you can put the link down, it'd be awesome. And I use that. There's a little that goes, and it's very, very, very subtle, but, like, on the 5s, like, you drop your pants. Like, it's just unbelievable how it sounds. And it was one of those sounds that I could never follow in my Nissan, per se. Right? Because the stereo was crap. Like, it's just what it is. But in, like, a set in the B&O, and I did that soundtrack. I basically also did it so people can understand the bitrate difference, because that was the era of, you know, who's got the bigger hard drive with more music that you'll never listen to, right? Like, remember those times. And I did, I think Audacity was the program that I've used, and I took that song and I basically cut it in 30 seconds. Like, as soon as the next beat loop comes through, I would start it at 32 kilobytes a second, 64, 128, 256, 320 lossless in those increments. So it was pretty funny how people reacted to the sound, quality differences. Like, it's just how it's stepping up, and they're like, this sounds really bad. And they're like, okay. I'm like, okay, this is 64. Now it's 128. No, okay, well, this is kind of good. And then it goes to 256. Okay, that's nice. Then it's 320, like, okay, that's pretty much CD. And then you go to lossless, and in lossless, only very few and far in between people were able to distinguish the nuances or more or less what to look for. But then again, you'd have to play your own music to really be judgmental of what you can and can't hear. A, B, we're doing this in the middle of a parade. There's literally 4,000 people walked by us while we played this song.
Yeah.
So you got to understand the noise and all that jazz. But in the same token, that was the entire point of it, that you're sitting in this vehicle, there's absolutely no extraneous noises coming in, A. B, you also have not even an enhanced sense of privacy, I would say, but it's much better, or much better. You're much more confident having a phone call conversation because the speakers are sealed and they're not shooting right that you have outside of the vehicle. And on really crap cars, you can actually hear what people are saying.
Yeah. I mean, when you drive down the road and somebody's on their cell phone inside the car, you can hear everything what they're talking about.
Not in Audis.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So 2 quick questions about the cars. Which Audi has the best Bang & Olufsen speaker system, in your opinion?
So that's a very tricky question, and I'll tell you why. The best sound system is essentially they're in a few cars, in a C and D models, and the best sound system is the one with the acoustic lenses, which is the advanced sound system package. The premium is fine, but the advanced definitely. The biggest difference is if you get into the A8, there are 4 active microphones that noise cancel the road and actively mitigate all the extraneous noises. So if you're driving in the rainy conditions, it actually measures the ambiance of the rain falling onto the hood of the vehicle, and it cancels that out. That does not happen in any other vehicle in our product line, I don't think. Maybe A7 still does it. But when it comes to the soundstage, in my personal opinion, Q7 is the best because it is the largest acoustically, right? And if you get the advanced acoustic package or advanced sound system package with the acoustic lenses, it's 1925 watts, which is funny because that's basically the year the B&O started, and versus 703 to 723 or 26 watts on the regular default when you get the Technic package by Audi, right? And then you can go with the cheese balls, which is 180 watts, 10 driver system for what the heck is it called? Audi Symphony. But there ain't nothing to sing about there, man. That stereo, in my, I guess, professional opinion, you can call it, I've been around the damn thing for a while now, is good for spoken word radio and podcasts. If you listen to that, then you're quite fine with just having that. If you do what I usually do, and probably you also do in the car, is you listen to music. Then you need a better sound system. Now, all Audis that have B&O sound system are tuned up to 200 kilometers an hour to basically negate the speed of wind or the sound of wind and also the road noise. When you get into the A8, then that information is also harvested through the suspension and so on and so forth. Like there's just so much.
So the DSP inside of the Bang & Olufsen system is actually measuring how fast you're going up to 200 kilometers an hour?
I don't know if it's the DSP measures that or how that information is portrayed. Definitely there is an information portrayed or harvested from the speedometer because you have the speed-dependent volume control. And in speed-dependent volume control, I would never go more than, if you put it to full, go 2 notches back. Then it doesn't annoy because if you go a little further, then every time you step on the gas and you start accelerating, it starts to do overcompensate and it's too much.
The volume goes up.
Yeah, it's so sudden. It's too like no. Okay.
So question number 2: How do you feel about Ford getting the new BeoPlay music system into the cars?
You know what? I was really against it in the beginning for one simple reason, like, oh God, like Ford, are you serious? Out of all the cars on the planet, you pick Ford? But when you take a step back, I take an approach to it the same as a BeoPlay products.
Yep.
And I was pissed when BeoPlay came out as a dealer, right? Like, you bastards, like, what do you do? We're selling this online now?
Mm-hmm.
When was that? Like, what memo did I miss, right? But that's just the fact of reality. Now everything's online because of the coronavirus. So I can't even imagine this deal going on 10, 15 years ago. Imagine, like, there's no infrastructure like Amazon set up, like we would just be killing one another, for God's sakes. But yeah, I don't know. To me, is what it is.
Have you listened to it?
I've heard it in my friend's truck. I was quite impressed. I was really impressed, to be honest with you. But I like the idea of it now because it introduces it to a very, like a vast populace of generic people. And I don't mean to be disrespectful towards humanity, but generic people, I mean people that in North America, Bose is a very well-known product here. It's the Budweiser of beers, right? Everybody, Bose is like the Michael Jackson of music. Everybody knows Michael Jackson. Everybody knows Bose because they just promote the crap out of themselves and that's it. But nobody knows B&O here. Like what back in Olufsen, what? They have no idea how to even spell it. But I like the fact that they've put it in because, man, it's North America, dude. There's a lot of damn trucks here. Actually, Alberta has the most trucks per capita. I think that has kind of changed because the SUVs are becoming the new trend in regular daytime driving versus the trucks, where the Alberta, like back when the architectural years of mine, Alberta was the only province that had a wider parking stall specification than any other province in Canada because of the amount of trucks that were driven here.
Really?
Yeah, man. Our parking stalls were 20 centimeters wider than any other parking stalls in any other province. And you would never realize that till you go and you park in Vancouver and all of a sudden, like, oh my, like, you got to bar up the freaking mirrors just to put the car in the stall. Like it's so tight and you don't realize it till you go places where that regulation hasn't been implemented. But that's kind of going by the wayside now, especially in the newer neighborhoods because of the SUVs popularity. That's what's too cool. Like,
yeah. All right. Well, should we see some products, Willie?
You guys are my guests.
All right. Can you take us around and tell us a bit about your system?
Rock and roll. I'm gonna keep this on the tripod because I think it's gonna be a little more stable for me carrying it around. And if
no matter what, you look beautiful.
Right on. I got a haircut too. That's my self haircut.
Did you do it yourself?
I'm not going to show you the backside. I did probably pretty good, but it's gotten to the point where I was like, I'm going to look like you. But the initial stage of beard growing is absolutely, I can't even. So I just shaved it all off and here I am. So this is the foyer. This is what I was talking about, the little collection. These are all the products that I've used over the years. And, the BeoCom Serene. There's the BeoSound 2. And the Serene Serenata. This is just and this is the B&O's CD shelf.
Oh, really? I actually used to have that phone that automatically opens. Is it the Serene? Yeah.
That's the guy. So when you walk into my apartment, it's pretty dull. There's nothing to it, but there is a little mini keypad here, and we'll zoom into that as well. It has 3 buttons: welcome, music, and goodbye. So when I go into the house and I press the music or a welcome button, then obviously the light's already on, so they turn on. But what happens, I always go to the balcony and pull the blinds up. So I have the TV program in the gateway to move out of the way so I can actually pull the stuff, and it works. My closet has occupancy sensors in it. Right now, everything is on because I just pressed the welcome sequence. The welcome sequence is also, when we get to the macros, I can explain that a little bit. It's also, I have system modes within the gateway. So I have daytime, nighttime, and evening. And based off of those 3 prerequisites, what time it is in a day, that light turns on how bright. This is full bore now because it's daytime. Evening, it goes to about 75, and at nighttime, it goes to 50. So if people are leaving, let's say, past 11 o'clock from here, this light does not just like in your face. And the same thing if you need to leave in the early mornings. So moving on to the kitchen, I have a Nest that I'm reluctant to update because the new software update, I believe, will nuke the interface between the gateways. So I'm keeping that. And that's also tied into through the gateway system to the Lutron. So when I press the goodbye button on my foyer when I'm leaving, it shuts all the lights off, of course, but it sets this to the eco mode because you are not here anymore. And then as far as my buttons here, I have the foyer, also kitchen LEDs. LEDs have no tie to physically to the Lutron system. They're Philips Hue lights, but also the gateway is controlling them. So this button essentially, as you see that the light dimmed behind me as the foyer turned off. So that's the occupancy sensing in there. And so this is controlled via Lutron gateway and Philips Hue. Like there's a lot of things that actually happen here. By pressing the LEDs button, it turns on all the LEDs, but it also turns them in a specific color that I color match to the pot lights. Because it was always willy-nilly and it was random stuff. So if you like, let's say you left the lights for whatever reason on like yellow or amber color, they would come onto the same color. I didn't like that, so I changed the consistency. So that's basically it. I used to, in my old apartment, which was above me, I used to have a TV, V1 in my kitchen, which is now in the office, but I am really considering putting it back up there because it's kind of hard to turn your neck to the Avant, even though you can have the stand and whatever, versus it's first world problems, but that's just what it is. So here's my beloved BeoLab 18s. These are in walnut lamellas. These are my rear surround speakers. I absolutely adore them. The reason why they are in walnut lamellas, all of my furniture is Herman Miller, and I wanted to match them to the Nelson bench and the slats. I can zoom in on that later on. Here's my little Audi family of bears. There you go. So they hang out with me in the mess of Lego. Like I said, I'm trying to keep saying and building a huge crane. It's 4,000 parts, so I've been at it for a week. Gotta get the pinching. You know what's funny? You don't realize how much you lose in pinch. Like I terminate a lot of cables, and in order for you to hold the cat cables proper, because you know one skips over, you can't. It's done. Yeah. You gotta re-terminate. So it really makes. So this is my training, my pinch training. So coming back or around more or less. Here's my 9000. It is directly connected to the BeoLab 90s via SPDIF cable. So if I want to listen to CDs in its purest form, I do have to utilize my phone in order to control the volume on the 90s because there's no other way.
So it's not connected to the rest of the system. It's only connected to the.
It's connected also to the rest of the system. But if I just press the CD now, it fires up the speaker. It ignores the TV. I can also take the BeoRemote 1 and fire up the speakers or fire up the 9000, but then it goes through the BeoLink converter, and the sound quality is significantly affected at that point because it's going through, I think, 4 DACs at a time or altogether. So for the purity of that, I still use the CD player just for the 90s, and that's it. I actually have a specific acoustical preset for the 90s when they are on. When they are on the CD, so they sound absolutely outstanding. Otherwise, if I do CD, which is it's almost to the point where I'm justifying the fact that I don't really need the linked CD, which is ludicrous because I think I would never say that, but I still utilize the link rooms as a BeoLink system is. So front here, obviously, there's my Avant 55. I've had a number of TVs. The only TV that I have never had is the Harmony. I liked the Avant. It was the first TV that really it warmed up to me after. Like I've owned a BeoVision 9 was the first TV that I had bought. And when I bought the Avant, I just loved the mechanics of it. And that was the era of, the boring B&O TVs like the Eclipse, which you can't really woo me with the orbital floor stand when there's no action with the speakers, so you took off from what the previous TV had, in my opinion. And that's why I love the Harmony. But my problem with the Harmony, there's no rotation on the stand, and the circumstances dictate here, and I can't put a TV here because then I'm losing the balcony. And I am an avid cigar smoker, hence the reason why there's a macro to move TV out of the damned way so I can get to the balcony without risking damage on the speakers. And as an avid LEGO fan and everybody that we interview on the podcast, as well as we are very anal about cable management. That is the thing that all the Bang & Olufsen people should take really to heart. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll show you that in a zoom. This is right there. Dink. That is a box of Lego that I had used to put all of my cables away. And you can modularly make it bigger or smaller so it fits the power bar and all that. I used to have a Matrix receiver in there and everything else. It was pretty cool. but it was starting to get a little warm. So let's go to my office. Why not? Office it is. Here's a...
Wow, there's a lot of Lego.
There's a lot of Lego, but this is, I think, this was the last project for David Lewis. This is the laptop that he's designed in collaboration with Asus. And this is the NX90. I still have it. This laptop has been with me since 2011. It went to Chicago with me for the induction training when this was a this was a life of a party. It's got good enough speaker system in it that when we did the induction training for a week in Chicago, all of the people that we were in the class with, they were hanging out in my hotel room because I was the only one with music. They all had their iPhones. I roll in with the freaking 1/2 meter wide laptop and a Beocom Serene, and they were like, "How did you get here?" Because I don't have maps. So, but that's there's that, and there's my Lego collection, and I guess my Zen. I am definitely into Technic, as you can see. I like that part of it, and quite honestly, my dad, when he first bought me my first Lego set, I was 3 years old, and I think that was it. And I thank him for it, because this is one of the biggest things in my life that got me technically inclined, no pun intended. And I'm not worried to take apart crap like B&O. Like, you know, I've had my Avant down to more or less last screw. I've taken the BeoVision 9 apart, and, you know, most of the stuff that I've owned, I've seen inside of, other than the 90s. However, I was lucky enough that I went for in 2015 for the 90th anniversary of Bang & Olufsen's birthday. I went to Denmark, so I saw them being built, so I don't have to open mine. So
that's a good thing.
And here's the little BeoVision or BeoPlay V1 32, which I used to call it the luckiest TV on the planet, because that TV at one point of time was the sole and primary speaker driver for my BeoLab 90s. So not many V1s can say, I was plugged into the 90s. So, you know, not to diminish from its flash and thunder, I hooked it up to the BeoLab ones, which are my absolute favorite speakers. These were the first speakers that I had heard from Bang & Olufsen as first speakers ever in Canada, obviously, less the Pentas back home. And Enigma, Return, not the first track on one of the very first albums. That was the song. Oh my God, Principles of Lust. That's what I've heard on it. And I'm like, oh my God. And that was it for me with B&O.
They're really transparent, the Lab ones.
You know what's funny? Like when I sit there on the ground and build Lego, and you have the V1 working with it, it's really cool. They sound really good. Like if
they do.
For how small of a room it is, it's definitely an overkill. But it's not, because it's just like Ferrari, you know, just because it can go 300 kilometers an hour, you're not doing groceries in that thing going that fast. Like it's a power in reserve, as I say.
And it's nice to have. The power is always nice to have.
So I've gotten nailed to the wall a number of times because of the bathrooms on the podcast. So we're going to go through those as well.
Yes.
I'm not gonna short you guys on this. So my bathroom, I'm going to show you this right now, is everything is an occupancy sensor. So as soon as you walk into the bathroom, the lights do come on automatically. I do have two different occupancy sensors underneath my counter, daytime and nighttime. So I actually did segregate those from the gateway just for the sake of redundancy. Then if the gateway hangs up, I still don't come in here and the thing comes on boring or blaring at 100%. So right now it's at 75. And then here we go. There's a little BeoSound 1 sitting in by the sink. And like I said, I'm a big fan of Oakley. These kind of just match together, so I just left them there. I found this bottle. It was some sort of a donation thing at the mall that I gotten into. I'm like, man, these would look good. I never intended that to actually tie in, but once the BeoSound 1 in piano black came, I'm like, dude, that's coming into the bathroom. So most stolen product of the planet as far as the B&O's portfolio is concerned, and I do have a ton of those bottle openers. And just to keep on the tradition, the one that I'm using here, I had stolen from the lunchroom in Denmark.
You heard it here first. So if you guys want it back, you better call Willie.
I am guilty here. There it is. So I've stolen it. Keep on the tradition. So one of the most heartwarming ass gifts that I've ever gotten through Christmas was my mom got me the Bang & Olufsen towels. Yeah, dude, I was like just over the moon with it. So I have the BeoSound towels everywhere. Everything has a B&O logo, of course, on it. I had no idea she was doing this. She actually took the logo off of my business card. I'm like, Mom, fudge, I would have just given you the AI file for the Illustrator so you can just take it there. No, she had him reverse engineer the damn logo.
So is these towels out because we're on a visit, or is it just, this is Willie's house, this is Bang & Olufsen towel?
This is always here. Nothing that you see here was staged. That's how I live.
All right.
So there's that. My Kleenex dispenser is also built out of Lego. This is a couple of revisions through it. This one works the best. This is the set that I had bought in Billund when I was there in 2016, for the second factory tour. And I did make it to the Legoland.
Yeah.
B&O's birthday is November 17th, as we all know. So it's 17 days too late for the Legoland because they close on October 31. So the next time around, which was April when I came for the factory tour, I scheduled extra days so I can go through the Legoland. Obviously, like, my God, like, Denmark is the Mecca for me. And also my biggest prize possession as far as the Audis are concerned is a 2005 A8 model. And this is the one that was actually given to us in the shops. It's got the Bang & Olufsen license plate on it. So yeah, we'll get into this guy a little bit. And that was the first time that B&O introduced the sound systems in the Audis as far as the Bang & Olufsen goes. So that's all there is for my bathroom. The light will actually turn off on its own. A few things that I've forgotten to mention, or one thing that I've forgotten to mention, obviously it's a Lutron keypad in here. And I've done each room to have a certain function. So this is a bathroom, so it has a bath button. The bath button, what it does, we all take baths. What do you do when you're filling up the tub? Like a moron, you go and check if it's full. Is it full? Is it full? Is it full? Well, as an engineer, I figured water in an apartment flows in a constant. So it takes a certain amount of time for the bathtub to be filled up. It's 14 and a half minutes, by the way. So I put this in the gateway, and when I press bath, the Hugo light here changes colors every 6 minutes. No, sorry, 5 minutes. So it goes from green, like it cycles through all the Beo remote, the green, yellow, blue, and red. When it goes to red, you have about 3 minutes before you need to get the mops out. So, and then I just, like, once this turns, it actually changes the entire feng shui of the room. It changes the lights and everything. Once the bathtub is filled, it just goes, because obviously it turns the music off in the main room. It turns on the BeoSound 1 because that's where I'm going. It sets the lights to dim level because you're going to be in the bath. All this shuts down, and like, there's no way that you cannot be aware of the fact that your bathtub is filled up.
That's a pretty cool macro.
There is a whole bunch of them that I've done. Everything also that I haven't really talked about here. Behind me is all the pictures that came out at the time when the BeoVision 10 was cool. Here's the remnants of the rest of them. I do have them acoustically lined. If people are wondering, there's not much echo in this room, even though it's pretty barren. There's not much. I have furniture, but nowhere near as much furniture as plus. The furniture I have here is wooden and leather fabric. So
the pictures are acoustic treatment?
So the pictures are actually doubled as acoustic treatment. And what I use for the acoustic treatment is, if anybody has ever seen parts being shipped from Bang & Olufsen, they are obviously come in that cardboard box with that green pokey foam. Mm-hmm. I have that pokey foam here underneath each, or behind each picture. It really did significant amount of improvement as far as the echo is concerned in the room. So there is that, and everything is also voice controlled. So you can probably
use Alexa or Google.
I do Google. Google. I'm done with the balcony. There we go.
Parking the TV.
So what happens then? The TV is now going back to its own original spot.
Oh, okay.
So those things, instead of grabbing the remote and pressing stand number 3 or 0 to standby, and you can't do it when the TV is in standby. So that's my, way of controlling these things.
So this is done by if this then that in your gateway?
Done through IFTT and obviously the chemo subscription, because I have the old BeoLink Gateway, so you have to be subscribed. If you have the new gateway, then you still have to pay for the upgraded version of it, so you can actually utilize all that voice commanding. I never thought that I would use it as much as I do, man. I yell at that Google box constantly. Do this, do that, do this, do that. What's the temperature? What's the weather?
Yep.
What's the news? It's wicked.
Yeah.
So coming on to the bedroom, the acoustics obviously changed quite a bit. Somewhat because of this as well. Yeah. The 12 dial shape. There are 4 speakers in it. Definite overkill for a bedroom, man. Like, I listen to spoken word radio on this, and every now and then, when I was sick, like, that's when I really utilized the system, because I did listen to it quite a bit. And lo and behold, not the garbage can, but right there is my BeoLink converter, and that is across the wall from the 9000. So that's where the 9000 is being fed. I have a link eye in this tile. I couldn't use Quadrat because the IR doesn't really go through it that well, so I have to use the fabric tiles. And the link eye, the reason for the link eye is because there are BO times, one on each nightstand. And I also have the B&O logo from the old shop above the bed. So the BO times are actually set. I have 2 different macro sequences that they can go off of. Well, actually, there's 3 as of COVID times, because there is no work. So I have summer and winter presets, which means that when the BO time comes on, it does the same sequence. The only thing that is a minute difference in the macro is that instead of heating, it turns on the air conditioning. That's cool. I can also change the heat and heat, cool, and eco mode on the thermostat with the BO time based on the macros that are programmed just particularly for this room.
So would you like a upgrade for the BO time to be Bluetooth?
I would love the fact if they came out with an accessory like BO time again. Maybe a little better resolution display. I would also, as far as the when you flip the screens, I would have the buttons direction follow with it.
Definitely.
And I think that idea should be revisited. The only thing that I would say is make it a little shorter.
Yeah.
It's too long. It's a little too long. But let's say if there was 2 AA's instead of 3, I think that would be good.
Yeah, and if you use the same display that's actually on the Beo Remote 1 or something, that could be like a black.
They've swapped everything to white color. All the status lights are now white versus the red and the yesterday.
That could be a very, very cool product.
I think it would have it would kill. I really like it. The luckiest man I am, I found the lamps that match the profiles and shape of the BeoLab 90s, and it's actually called a shape lamp. And
really?
So I was walking around EQ3 one day, and like, I have all the Herman Miller furniture, and nothing but Herman Miller furniture, I guess, in here. I'm a big fan of the walnut wood and just timeless, and it's something that I don't want to buy again. But I'm walking around. And I'm on a quest for a lamp, because I like the cigar lamps that the Herman Miller has. Like, I just haven't found something that jives yet, right? And then I come in and like, holy crap, man, these things. And when you stand in the kitchen, like from the view, it looks like a smaller version of the 90 for the bedroom. Like, it's really cool. And I just I have them here, and here I can turn them on for you. And the nice thing is that you can do that with a BO time.
Really?
So, BO time comes on.
Sure.
Press and hold, and we can also shut them down. So just 1 second here. So everything is cool. Yeah. So as a backup, also in the bedroom, I do have. There's a built-in redundancy in here. So in a drawer, I have a little little Pico controller, and that can also turn on all the lights, all the full brightness, or just go halfways. But I found that I don't really use it because I just yell at Google to do it.
Yeah. Do you have a Google in the bedroom as well?
No, I just have one home in the kitchen, and it's a small apartment, so I can just yell at it, which is fun. So it's funny to me, and I do not understand Google, quite honestly. Yesterday we're hanging out, had a friend over. I know it's like illegal now to get together and shit, but like we're both clean.
Well,
So
you kind of you had spirits within inside the body as well, so
right, and we weren't talking moistly. So if in case Prime Minister is wondering, we're sitting yesterday, dude. Music is playing at 65 on the 90s, which is fairly loud, and I talked to the Google and it understands completely.
Oh yeah.
Why did it not do anything when I told it that right now? It's complete quiet in here, dude. Like, what the hell? Like, those are the quirks that I'm just like, what's going on here? So, moving onward.
Sometimes it's pretty crazy, and sometimes it just works. I mean, I can play music at 70 or 60 or something, and I can just whisper to my Google unit, and it will listen.
I know.
Sometimes it just doesn't.
It doesn't care.
Yeah. It's a very good-looking shape.
Yeah, I do like it. I went through a whole bunch of different shape tiles and stuff, and I do like the way that it's tiled out now. That's the one I'm stuck with. Shout out to Steve. There's my humidifier. We talked about those, and I'm very anal about it. And if people are wondering why your 9000 doesn't want to play CDs if you're using humidifiers, because the CDs actually get calcified. The plastic more or less is positively charged, and it attracts all the calcium from that is evaporated into the air, and it actually coats the CDs. It coats the aluminum. It is an absolute disaster for the B&O products. So I run through, in the winter, I go through almost 40 liters of distilled water a week in this apartment. Not even kidding you. 40 a week. So yeah, it's quite a bit. Here's my Essence remote. That is actually to control the shape. It's here for one simple reason. When I'm getting ready, and getting dressed and whatever, sometimes you want to turn the music up or down, and there's no real way to do it. My closet is also controlled by lights or occupancy sensors. There are two, so there's a daytime and nighttime. I don't have that segued into the gateway in that sense. You can still voice command control the thing, and it'll shut down. It's set to 1 minute's timeout. That's the shortest you can set the Lutron for. And then bathroom or shower number or bathroom number 2. So this is the only one that I had neglected getting the keypads engraving, but essentially it has also a few functions like a shower. So in the shower mode, my beloved M3 turns the volume. When I walk in here, that's another thing that I've tied in that I haven't mentioned. I've tied in the occupancy sensors into the gateway and into the volume control also. So as soon as, like, when I get home and I press music on the foyer, essentially what happens is the music comes on and everywhere. As soon as I walk into the bathroom, sensor goes, hey, somebody's here, because the light came on, and the status 0 goes to status 1 on the gateway. As far as the information goes, it turns the volume from 35 to 45. When I'm done, I leave the bathroom, I close the door, lights turn off. That goes from status 1 to status 0. So, hey, nobody's here. I'm going to turn the music down again. And it brings the volume back down. Now, it works the same way for both the BeoSound 1 and the M3. The M3 has a little function added to it, which is the shower. And in shower, because you are going to have running water going through your ears, and obviously you're going to stand in the shower stall, then you need the music to get louder. Now, we have, as guys, we do take sometimes long showers, and you are outside of the realm, because once you close the door in the shower stall, you are outside of the sensors, because I have the sensors on the floor underneath the counters. So what happens, then you're sitting here and all of a sudden the lights start turning down and music turns off because you're standing, like, there's no occupancy. So I actually built a redundancy, and up here there is a Pico controller, which has the bottom button. If I press it, it turns on the fans. So if I'm fogging up in here in the winter, I can just have it ventilated. And the top one, I press it once, it turns the lights back on if they time out, but it also, I doubled it as a function that I can turn off the fan. Because you can turn on the fan, but there's no way to turn it off again. So I turn it off by turning on the lights. Turn off the lights because you're in the bathroom anyway, so why would you turn yourself off?
Makes sense.
And the supplement here is also the Essence remote if I want to turn the music down and up. Now, the funny part is that if I'm in the shower and the music is loud, right? As soon as the sequence times out and the lights come back on through the sensor, it's not triggered through the occupancy sensor anymore. So that means when I open the shower door and I walk out of the out of the shower stall, the music turns down. So it's not screaming at you anymore.
Yeah, it makes totally sense.
You can program these funny quirks in there, and this is not because of the quarantine. I've had this going for years now, and this is why I have integration in so many client places, because when they come into my house and they see this, you see this in real life. This is how I work. This is how I live. This isn't just those three goofy integration panels in the shop that nobody can understand ever. And
it has a function.
Everything has a function and it's a purpose. There's a reason for it being there. And every keypad also has a join button, so I can actually join without having to touch the remote controls or the products themselves. I can just type on the Lutron join and the music will start playing in that room. So here's my collection of stuff, and also the Lego. This is I don't know if you can see that. There's my Lego set, and I put a set of lap 5s in the Farnsworth house, because why not? Proportionately perfect. So yeah, so there's my bathrooms and more or less my life, I guess, in a nutshell. But a lot of what you see, you don't really see, because a lot of it is it's the background of programming. It's
a very, very nice apartment you have, Willie, and it really, really, really looks good. So if I could come with some follow-up questions, what macro are you? I think I wrote it down. Hang on. I wrote up what BeoLink Gateway macro are you most proud of?
What Gateway macro am I most proud of? Turn off the apartment.
And that is because, tell me about the macro.
The reason why. And here's the trust level issues with automation. Sorry if this might, I'm just gonna spread the legs on the tripod. Here's the fun part about this macro. Philips Hue is, you all have one friend that he says he's gonna show up and he doesn't, and then he comes up with a bullshit excuse because his grandma died or something, right?
Yep.
And that's how I look at Philips Hue. They can be trusted, but up to a level of a 10-year-old kid. They're not going to admit the fact that they spilled the milk in the kitchen. It's going to be blamed on someone else. And my problem with it is, and I think it's a problem for everyone with automation, I'm sure that you have Gateway, and it takes a little bit, is to build the trust. Because you can press the button.
Yep.
So you walk around, I walk around with a doorknob around the house. It's all dark because I'm leaving the house. I press, all the Lutron shuts off. But for some reason, the Philips Hue, there's always one of them that says, I'm staying on, bitch.
I'm just going to sit here in the corner and light everything up.
And screw you, because you're leaving and whatever. So yeah. I had been fighting this for almost a year. You'd get home and like, son of a bastard, man. There was freaking bar lights on for no reason. And it's been on the whole day. So that macro I've built a redundancy that it actually shoots each light off for Hue 3 times in sequence, timed sequence apart. And it still doesn't sometimes pick up. I don't know what the problem is with the Hues. I set the thermostat to eco mode, and I also built another not sub macro, but I to the macro that based on the status report, status on the thermostat says eco mode. Within 3 minutes, you shut all the lights off in here again. Now, the only backfire on that is if I'm sitting here building Lego and you get into it for a while, right? And especially now with, the routine of what the Nest things that I should be at and what we're really stuck at home, I'm sitting here and everything turns off. Just like fudge. Grab the remote, press lights, general, everything turns back on, general lights, everything comes back. It doesn't turn off the TV because I know that that's off. And essentially how that comes off is the Avant is essentially like I would call it the master driver, where the Avant issues out all standby command. And the reason why I have the Avant issue out the all standby command, because if any other product issued all standby command and the Avant is on, the speakers don't park. The TV just shuts down exactly what angle it is.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's one of the reasons. So this way it always parks itself and so on. So yeah, that's basically how I live. Everything is automated. It's crazy to me to think that people still touch lights switches.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
For the sake of it.
Yeah.
It's the convenience. Like and you know what? The most guilty that I am is at people's places where I go into clients' homes and do whatever. I know I'm mentally conscious of the fact that when I'm done, just before I put my shoes on, I do one more loop around the entire residence to make sure I turned off all the damned lights.
Yeah.
My mom's house, like I lived with her when we bought the house. This is a decade ago now, if not more. I put Lutron in the house. And now she's thinking about moving and selling the house and buying something a little smaller, or more or less one level. And she goes, so we can take the lights, right? The switches and things? I'm like, for sure as we are, man. Like, yeah, I'm going to put the $1.50 bullshit Home Depot clicker switches. I'm not going to leave, $600 keypad dimmer for some doofus that has no idea and no appreciation for it. No, we're taking everything out. Like the whole house is built that way. Not built that way. It's all set up. I set up. Here's another thing that I also recommend for people that do have lighting control. I highly recommend, if you do have Lutron per se, get an appliance switch and put your Christmas tree on it. Then you have to stuff your head into those prickly bushes and unplug it and plug it in, because the plug is never where it's convenient, right? Like it's always in the bush side of the tree. Plus, you don't want to look at it since we all have the cable management phobia here. So it's I've done it for a lot of people that as soon as they pack out the Christmas tree, that thing is with lights, so they just put it on and that thing just follows the routine, turns on, turns off when it needs to, when it has to.
We do exactly the same here. We have a Christmas tree and we have the plug on it, and it works with Google and it works with the gateway and it works with everything in the house, and it just turns on when we're home, and it just works. So what is your longest macro command in your gateway?
Bath.
The bath? And tell me through, was it the one with the lighting of how you fill the bathtub?
So the longest command in the gateway,
the longest macro in the gateway.
Macro would be the bath or good morning.
Okay, take me through good morning.
So I'll take you through the good morning first. The good morning macro starts off with turning on the radio to radio station number 1, regardless of what I had passed out to. But it's turning it on from the shower. So I'm using the M3 as the audio master, so to speak, for one simple reason, that when I join in, I forgot to show, but there's a wall bracket for the BeoRemote 1 on the way to the bedroom. So when I'm coming out of the bedroom, I can press, my button number 2, which is a join command on mine as IR. It turns on the Avant, but the Avant doesn't turn on the 90s. So I can listen to the spoken word radio without actually waking up the big speakers for no apparent reason. Yeah. I'm going to have some scrambled eggs and leave for work. That was back when we all worked. So, but what that macro sequence also does, it turns on the lamp to 1%, because I'm kind of hard-headed when it comes to having myself roll out of the bed. So it takes a while. So I helped myself with lightfully forcing myself out of the room by turning the light every 45 seconds by 1%. And within 20 minutes, those lights are bright enough. They're at 35%, I believe, that you go. Now it's the lights are on, so you wake up. And so that's one of the longest ones. As far as the bath macro, I think the reason why it would be the longest is because there is a timer sequence. So because it counts the time for the, but you don't have them as sequential as they are in the morning. So it says, okay, after I think it's 400 seconds, they put it into 4 minutes or whatever it is. It switches the color, and then it switches the color on just on the Hugo. But then it also incorporates these. But the way I've done it, like I had them change this and that. But then I'm like, okay, you know what? Why don't I just use what I had already created? So why don't I just have the gateway press the evening button on the Lutron keypad in my kitchen, and then that light sequence autocorrects and the lights autocorrect to the proper warmth color, and everything back to what it was, and then it turns on the radio in the bathroom, turns on the light in the bathroom to a dim level, like I explained it already, and then you're just ready to take a bath.
Okay, so when I see the 90s in the background, so when people are coming over, I know that they have to sit on a wooden bench, but if you have to showpiece a piece of music, what music do you put on the 90s?
I let them pick.
You let them pick, so that is exactly the same as Eric.
I know the speakers, I own them, right? So for me, it's like inviting someone for dinner, but you order for them on the menu. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I look at that. So I'm not gonna be cooking for your ass, man. You can cook yourself. So here's the moment. Here's my phone or with the app, right? So you can browse up whatever you'd like. Obviously, there's some limitations to Deezer because you can't find everything. But no, I have them sit in the Eames chair and they can sit here and listen.
Okay. So what would you like to see of a Bang & Olufsen product in the near future?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would like to see a lot, but then again, there's things that don't make sense. But what I would like from B&O that's a very hard question to answer. But what I would like from B&O, quite honestly, is the one thing that I touch the most. And I would like a remote control that is a little more tactile than the one we're currently stuck with, I would say.
Okay.
I like the BO4 because the buttons were more separated.
Yeah.
And Avant came out in 2013. So I've had my Beo Remote 1 in my hand for 7 years. I still F up. I still mute the standby, right? And there's these little growing pains, and if you press back on the Apple TV and you punch the green button, then the whole thing just goes to the main screen menu.
Yeah.
And so that would be the one product that I would really want to see refined. And we're at the era where energy is cheap. And what I mean by that, battery power. So why not backlight the display? And if the energy is something that is off a question or a problem, we are all very, very, very accustomed by now on charging habits. People charge their phones without even thinking about it. Like, this is not something that like, oh my God, what the hell is this? I gotta charge that bullshit.
Oh my God.
It shouldn't be a product that you need to charge every second day.
No, it shouldn't be like the BO6, you know what I mean?
No.
When you have 5 hour, sand on the clock is ran out, boom, battery's done. Well, I hope you finished the movie or at least pause the damn thing because you're finished.
Yeah.
So, but on that note, I don't know how the aluminum is for the wireless charging. Like, it's a non-ferrous metal, so I think it's not even about the conductivity. Like, I think that they could make something that would just be compatible with the QI chargers. So you can put your remote on the QI charger,
the background of if you take the Beo Remote 1 and you remove the bottom of the whole Beo Remote 1 and just put in a piece of walnut, like a thin piece of walnut, then you can actually do it.
There you go. Yeah, because
it could look stylish as well.
Or put a piece of glass on the back of it.
Yeah.
Of some sorts, right? Like, you know, just like the phones. I understand rigidity and durability of it would be a little bit impeded because, yes, we all drop our remotes, man. No matter how careful you are, everybody's got a mark. So that's why I have
it's a service thing. You just earn more money, like Apple.
That's right.
Yeah.
You dropped it. Oh my.
So if you should, what do you think your next purchase of Bang & Olufsen would be?
My next purchase for B&O, you know what? Quite honestly, I have no need for any new products because, well, I've been around B&O for a long, long time, and I've had every single product in their portfolio other than the new Harmony because there's nowhere to put it here. And that's why I gotten rid of the 65-inch Eclipse because you just couldn't get to the balcony and, you know, like it's just worrying about it, right? And you don't want to hit it with the watch because, like, oh my God, imagine cracking a screen on that. That would be a heartbreaker. Yeah. And secondly, I don't watch TV. I'm okay with the Avant for those few Joe Rogan podcasts and Command and Conquer games that I watch and tournaments and stuff. Like, I don't care for that. I'm not a movie buff. I listen to music. I have a preset for these speakers specifically tuned for that bench where I sit, build Lego. And it's amazing how it sounds. It sounds like the speakers are in front of you and you are nowhere near.
What is the reason you have the 18s then?
For the surround.
When you watch what?
Movies, every now and then. But like I say, they have really no purpose. And the reason why I essentially what I started doing now, and it's been a while that I've been doing it, because it's not that you get, it's a weird way to say this, but it's not that you get tired of the 90s sound, but I use them as, you know, the fictitious or the good old Speaker 4 group, right? Mm-hmm. Which no longer really exists.
We all miss Speaker 4. We all miss Speaker 4.
You know, yes, I retract the remote. If you can bring anything back, bring back Speaker 4. So in Speaker 4 mode, I do like it because they actually pull the music a little bit behind you because it's just ever so subtle what the processing does to the speakers. And I love the look of them. I think they are the most classic speaker that there is. And when I got a chance to interview Torsten Velour back in 2015, when we sat down in his office, I asked him, like, so what was the most dreaded design challenge that you had? And it was like, without missing a beat, man, it was replacing the 8000s.
Yeah.
I hated to take on this project because how do you fill those shoes, man?
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the speaker was geometrically perfect. It was inobtrusive in a design. It was timeless.
It must have been a nightmare for him.
It was a definite nightmare. But there was, if I remember correctly, there was a somewhat of his wife's influence. She's Asian, and that's where that wood started to come in, right? Like, it's just like what and you know, and here we are in, you know, 9 years later, I guess, at this point of time. But his first project was actually Beocom 2. That's how he sold himself to David Lewis. But I love the 18s for it's just a classic look. And quite honestly, like, it's a modularity that I was thinking about because back in the professional partner times, I was thinking of actually having the Shape installed on a piece of plywood. So it's a modular system I could take to demo with.
Yeah.
And I was going to put the 18s in the bedroom, but then I do every now and then watch a film. I don't even know why I have a Netflix subscription, to be quite honest with you. So I do utilize it. But to answer your question also, the bench speaker group, when it goes through the TV, those speakers are also tuned with it. So it brings stereo image. It helps the 90s a little bit because obviously you can't make water into wine, I guess. But yeah, they do work. I like them. I don't utilize them. Like I said, like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a different animal than Eric is. Like, he committed a room to a movie watching, right? Well, he also committed a room to Lego building, which I've committed a room just to Lego building and music listening. And yeah, I'm a very music-based person. I live alone, so I don't, like, for me, like, when people come in and hang out, it's a very North American way. Like, I used to have furniture. I used to have a couch and sofa here, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody ever sat on it. And I kind of sat on it and like, I'm not really that comfortable. And I really wanted the Eames chair. Like, I think that's a man's chair no matter what. And it's not to be sexist, I guess, in today's day and age, but that's your dad's chair, right? Like, yeah. So that's one of the things that, you know, in every catalog you look at, you know, B&O all over the map, and then there's the Eames chair. Because, man, you got to sit on something comfortable when you listen to music. And what I find magical about the Eames chair is when you sit in it, your clock runs out very quickly, that you get to that point where you're about to pass out. You know, like the state of mind where you're just like, and your ears go to freaking 1,000%, like bat ears all of a sudden. Like, you can hear shit that you could normally not ever hear because you turned off your entire mind other than the sense of hearing, right? Unless your dog breaks wind or something, then that definitely kind of kiboshes the moment. But you sit there in the chair, and the music just elevates. And the 90s, like, they shine right before you pass out. Like, and that is the reason why I have the Eames chair, because it's a chair that you combat the nap on it, but that's that perfect fine thin line that you can edge yourself on between sleeping and not, where the music kills. In the 90s, just kill, dude. It's awesome.
And on that last note, before Willie passes out, when he goes to the Eames chair, we're going to stop this podcast. Thank you so much, Willie, for letting Bang & Olufsen Technical Forum Denmark come and visit you.
Thank you as well for inviting me.
I'm going to do an outro in Danish, and then I'm going to see you later.
You betcha. Bye.
Mange tak, fordi I har set med alle sammen. Den her gang var vi på besøg i Canada. Over besøg Willie. Vi fik set BeoLab 90, og vi fik set Shape, M3, BeoSound 1, en masse Lego og en Audi, der stod ude på badeværelset. I har først set det her. Det var alt, hvad vi havde den her gang. Kan I have det rigtig godt derude, til vi ses igen. Husk at trykke subscribe og give videoen en tommel op, til vi ses igen. Hej. Wave!
I understood that.
And we're out.
Gotta be fucking kidding.